The sensation of the century. China is turning away from Moscow and now backing Kyiv. For the first time in many years, Washington and Beijing are speaking with one voice about peace. A new era of global diplomacy is beginning. Trump is shocking everyone. A statement that turns the geopolitical game upside down. And behind the scenes, a major political scheme is unfolding. Putin on the political ruins. What is happening behind Moscow's back? The end of an era. The world is holding its breath. Russia is losing its most loyal ally. All the details in a moment. You are watching Ukraine Today. I'm Solomia Dolik, and these are the latest events. A sensation in world politics. The US and China together for peace in Ukraine. No one expected this. The President of the United States, Donald Trump, made a loud statement. Washington and Beijing are joining forces to stop the war that Russia is waging against Ukraine. Trump announced this right on board Air Force One after a personal meeting with Chinese leader Xi Jinping in South Korea.
We've talked about this for a long time, and both of us will work together to try to do something. We agreed that the sides, have taken their positions and are fighting, and sometimes you have to let them fight. It's probably madness. But he will help us, and we will work together on Ukraine. We can't do much more. He has been buying oil from Russia for a long time. That supplies a large part of China. And, India has been very good on this issue, but we didn't discuss oil. We discussed working together to try to end this war. It doesn't affect China, it doesn't affect us. And I would like this to be done on that basis.
Yes, madness. That's exactly what Trump called the war. He emphasized that the main thing is to stop the deaths. Thousands of young soldiers.
I don't like to see them being thrown in. 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 young people, mostly soldiers.
Sounds powerful. And for the first time in a long while, the US and China are speaking with one voice about Ukraine. Trump has already acknowledged China's energy dependence on Russia in this difficult situation, but he made it clear that the main thing now is not oil but peace. And if the two most influential countries in the world really unite, it could become a turning point for the entire war. And while the world is discussing Donald Trump's sensational statement about working together with China for the sake of peace, new details are emerging in Ukraine that are changing the picture. Trump doesn't just want peace, he wants to involve China in putting pressure on Russia. This was stated by Ukraine's ambassador extraordinary and plenipotentiary, former Minister of Foreign Affairs Volodymyr Kandohi, on the air of Espresso TV channel.
Trump will try to bring China into the political process in order to force Russia to accept the ceasefire plan along the line of demarcation.
According to the diplomat, the American leader may use trade levers such as tariffs, interest rates, and economic concessions to persuade Beijing. If Trump postpones or lowers tariffs, in return he expects political support in pressuring the Kremlin. China should become a party to the negotiations and help force Russia to stop the hostilities. But the diplomat warns there is another trump card in play. Taiwan. For Beijing, this is topic number one.
How far the US is willing to go regarding Taiwan will determine how ready China is to help resolve issues that matter to Ukraine.
The stakes are high. The balance between global superpowers is on the line. The war in Ukraine and the future of Taiwan. And if Trump's plan works, it could become the most large-scale diplomatic maneuver of the decade. But now there's a new, even more sensational twist. The US president admitted it. At first, he thought stopping the war in Ukraine would be easy. During a speech in South Korea, Donald Trump stated he thought that peace in Ukraine would be an easy matter. The reason? His personal relationship with Vladimir Putin.
I thought it would be an easy thing, considering my relationship with Putin, but it will be resolved.
Trump is confident that the war will eventually be stopped. He recalled a total of 8 conflicts that, according to him, he managed to stop. And now Trump is hinting Ukraine will be next.
Russia and Ukraine will join the list of wars I have stopped.
Trump doesn't stop. After making loud statements and diplomatic promises, he takes it a step further. A meeting with Xi Jinping could become a turning point in the global game. This is not just a negotiation between two leaders. This is a major diplomatic battle. Trump enters the negotiations confidently, while Xi watches cautiously, and the whole world is holding its breath, on the verge of great changes. And it all begins right here with this meeting that could upend the geopolitical chessboard. What is really behind this meeting, and is Trump truly capable of changing the course of history? All the details coming up.
Donald Trump met with Xi Jinping in South Korea as part of his Indo-Pacific tour. The main topics of the meeting were trade barriers between the countries and, of course, the Russian-Ukrainian war.
They moved on to a longer speech, a joint agenda for political dialogue, which in principle is a very positive aspect of this meeting.
As a result of the meeting, the parties agreed to reduce it from 20% to 10%. The tariff on Chinese goods related to fentanyl, a synthetic opioid analgesic. The overall level of U.S. duties will reach 47%.
The fundamental issues underlying the US conflict. And China, they haven't gone anywhere. And these very important issues remain the fate of the island of Taiwan and the possibility of imposing tariffs on Chinese goods. Specifically regarding the purchase of Russian oil, Trump put it diplomatically. These issues were not raised, but in such cases, as a rule, when you don't reach an agreement, you say that we didn't talk about it.
The agreements regarding Ukraine were less productive, despite the fact that, according to the US president, Ukraine was discussed at length. At first, Trump wanted to persuade Xi to reduce support for Russia so that Putin would agree to end the war. Whether the parties reached any agreement in this regard was not announced.
There is an ongoing strategic dialogue and cooperation between authoritarian Russia and authoritarian Beijing. And in order to risk that, Xi must receive something higher and more meaningful, important and significant in return. Something that truly matches the high level of relations between America and Beijing, given that for now the relationship more closely resembles a logic of de-escalatory actions in the trade and economic sphere. I would not say that a true strategic alliance or formalized dialogue has yet been established between Washington and Beijing at this particular stage.
Donald Trump rated the meeting a 12 out of 10, emphasizing how highly he thought of it.
Out of 10. By the way, it is important to mention that this was the first meeting between the leaders of the United States and China in the past 6 years, which is a notable event considering the significance of their relationship on the world stage. I am someone who pays close attention to news from the Middle East, and what is happening there is very important and personal to me. The developments in that region are not just distant events. They are issues that I follow closely as they have a direct impact on people and situations that matter to me. It doesn't remind me of any achievement of peace in this region. That's why Trump's statements that everything has been agreed with China, everything is great, but let's at least wait 48 hours and then see what happens.
Trump said he had agreed with Xi Jinping to visit China in the spring of next year. After that, there will be a return visit by the Chinese leader to the United States.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine Today. Join us now.
Trump strikes at the Kremlin, the cancellation of the meeting in Budapest, permission for strikes on Russia with long-range missiles, new sanctions against oil giants. Washington is going on the offensive. Trump has finally seen the light and decided to crush Putin. But what is behind this White House turnaround? Is this the beginning of a major game against the Kremlin? And is Putin ready for the humiliation that is inevitably approaching? All the details coming up next.
The cancellation of the meeting in Budapest, the authorization for strikes with long-range British and French missiles on Russian territory, and sanctions against the two largest oil companies of the gas station country. Donald Trump has finally seen the light and decided to crush Putin. What is really happening in the White House?
I've always felt that Putin wants everything, not just a part. I think he's now ready for negotiations. We don't want him to get everything.
As soon as the Oval Office gave the green light, the U.S. Senate Foreign Relations Committee also sprang into action. There, they supported 3 legislative initiatives aimed against Russia, which started the war in Ukraine. Among other things, this includes recognizing the Russian Federation as a state sponsor of terrorism and the use of frozen assets. However, even in the Senate, they admit that it is currently impossible to vote on these bills due to the government shutdown. Despite this, in just one day across the ocean, it seems they've turned their backs on Putin. But as analysts point out, it's still too early to award Trump the Hero's Medal. Donald, as before, does not seek Ukraine's victory, but simply wants everything to end as quickly as possible along the current front line, just so he can pin the badge of the great peacemaker on his lapel and shift all further problems onto the Europeans.
And Trump continues to act according to his own logic. So Ukraine wants peace. That's what it said. We stop at the line of demarcation, that's it. In other words, Ukraine is ready to take the simplest and fastest path to peace. Russia doesn't want it, so according to Trump's logic, pressure should be put on Russia, which in fact happened in the form of those very sanctions. At the same time, again, following Trump's logic, if tomorrow the Russians say, okay, we are ready to negotiate a ceasefire, they will go to these negotiations and will be ready to lift some sanctions or offer other concessions. He hopes that through sanctions, he will get through to Putin's common sense. So he says, okay, we're losing, let's look for ways to get out of this situation.
Trump, who thinks like a businessman, analysts say, has failed to take into account the main thing, the logic of Putin. The dictator doesn't care about the impoverishment of millions of Russians or the stagnation of the economy. He has his own priorities, and he is not going to change them either under the stick or for the sake of a carrot. He
lives for war, you see. The future of the Russian economy, oil prices, none of that concerns him at all. There will always be money for the front. There will always be money for the army, for recruiting soldiers. Money will be found. And those very soldiers will be found too, because they've been found for 3 or 4 years already, and more will be found. That's all he thinks about, and he probably believes that everything is going just fine. And as for what will happen later, when something eventually collapses, people will have to live without gasoline or without something else. They'll find gasoline for the tanks, but everyone else will have to walk. That's basically his entire logic.
He doesn't feel sorry for anyone, not just Ukrainians, not even Russians. So why should we? Why even watch?
So far, the only one to react to the demonstrative shift across the ocean has been the unhinged Dmitry Medvedev, whom analysts say isn't worth paying attention to at all. Meanwhile, not a word from any official representatives. And most likely in Moscow, they'll pretend that everything is going according to plan.
Of course, for now, they don't have any kind of response. Medvedev is playing the role of the bad cop and is being rude to Trump. But as we've already seen this year, Putin and Trump don't insult each other. They show off, they just tease each other like that. That's why I don't think Putin will make any radical statements or insult Trump and say that now they're enemies. He'll say he got carried away, that they'll talk, they'll come to an agreement. I don't think we're going to see him come out, cry and say, that's it, it's over for me, I renounce power, I lost the war, new sanctions, they've crushed me. Or
can Vladimir Putin roll everything back? And will Trump take the bait of empty promises and stalling for time? It's obvious to analysts that, unlike the meeting in Anchorage, the US president realized much faster that the long-awaited talk would not happen. But it seems the pendulum has already swung. India and China, as reported by the media, they will be forced to give up Russian black gold. And
write in the comments what you think about this geopolitical shift. Hit the like button under the video and follow the main news together with me. There's more to come. See you in the next episode.